let's go ahead and get started really quick. So we're here today for Crowdfunding 101, which just means we're going to kind of cover the basics of how to create your best pitch and your best campaign on Indiegogo. This is going to include, like we said, a few different things. Let's start really quick with just a quick, what is Indiegogo? We're a really mission-focused company internally, and we want to share that mission with you guys so you can kind of understand where we're coming from. And we are a platform that empowers people to unite around ideas that matter to them and together make those ideas come to life. So that's what we're here for, and that's why we're here to try and empower you guys to create your best campaign. So for anyone that's new to crowdfunding or Indiegogo, a little bit about us, what's great about us. The first thing that you might notice is that we've got two different types of funding. We've got fixed and we've also got flexible. And fixed funding is something that you might already be familiar with, where all of the funds are returned to backers if you do not meet 100% of the goal by the time the deadline hits. Flexible funding is another option we have, which allows you to keep all of the funds that you raise, even if you don't hit 100% of your goal. This is really exciting for campaigns that, especially like socially focused ones, where any amount of funds you raise are helpful. For fixed funding, it's more for campaigns that need 100% of the funds, or they won't be able to get their campaign or their project started at all. So we have a couple different examples to kind of help this settle a little bit. For flexible funding, I really love the Loft Opera example. Loft Opera was based out of New York, and they ran a campaign to bring opera to the people. They didn't think that opera needed to be a thing that was really sterile and on the stage only. They wanted to have it in something as simple as a loft in the city. And so they were raising funds towards that goal, and their goal was $25,000, and they ended up getting really, really close, but not 100%. So at around 19.5K, they were quite close, and they were able to make it a reality. Also, they happened to have a matching donor on the side who was going to give them funds outside of whatever they raised, which was really helpful for them. This was just kind of additional funding. So now Loft Opera exists in New York, and seasonally you can access it, which is cool. A great example is fixed funding is one of our most successful campaigns, or one of our early successes, I should say. The Accentwear cat ear headphones. You may have seen these around. They actually are now partnered with Brookstone, and they're sold in Brookstone stores. I've seen them in airports, which is pretty cool. And they were just two girls that were at Berkeley, and they were in design school, I believe, and so they were really, really new to hardware and crowdfunding for sure. And so their goal was it was enormous. It was 250,000, and they ended up smashing that, and they ended up getting 3 million plus, which is really, really exciting. But because they were so new to hardware, they needed 100% of the funds before they could build anything, and they managed to do so, which is really cool. So another thing to note about us is that we are a global platform. What this means is that we are available not just in the US or in Australia, but we're also available in China and Japan and India and most parts of Africa as well. We have more than 223 countries and territories worldwide, and we allow you to raise funds in multiple currencies. Which is really exciting. Depending on where you're from, it works for you. So a great example of this is Flowhive, and Flowhive was actually out of Australia. And Flowhive is an exciting campaign because it was allowing regular people to be beekeepers. And as we all know, the bees are all dying, and we need to help in whatever way we can. So their goal was 70K. They ended up with 12 million, which is really cool. It was a father-son team. And even though they were based out of Australia, they wanted to raise funds in US dollars because they assumed that a large portion of their backers wouldn't just be in Australia. And sometimes it's helpful to have US currency because folks have an easier time with the exchange rate there. So they kind of made the executive decision to do that, and it worked out really well for them. Brewgooder Beer is an example of a campaign run out of Scotland, and they raised their funds in pounds. Because they were based right out of Scotland. What they were doing is they were raising funds for a beer company that was giving back. And so for all of the profits that they made actually went towards water causes and helping with the global water crisis, which is really cool. So for them, a lot of their audience was going to be in the UK because they were shipping beers to the UK. So they knew that pounds was going to be more helpful for them than raising in dollars or anything else. Another great thing about us, we've got amazing customer support. This is some of our team. We've got lots of dogs running around, so we're all very happy people. We're available. We've got a customer support team that is available within 24 hours. It's not 24/7, but if you send in an email, someone will respond to you as soon as you possibly can. And everyone is really knowledgeable about how crowdfunding works and the ins and outs, and they're able to help you with whatever you might need support with. So next we've got this video from one of our co-founders, Slava, and I'm going to go ahead and play it really quick, and I'm going to mute myself so you can't hear it on both sides. But yeah, just pay attention. He makes some really great points kind of generally that we're going to go a little deeper into later on.
I'm Slava Rubin, and I'm with Indiegogo. Crowdfunding is a flavor of crowdsourcing. So you can crowdsource anything. You can crowdsource ideas, you could crowdsource pictures, you can crowdsource light. Whatever it is that you're trying to get little bits of to make one big thing happen. So crowdfunding is the crowdsourcing of funds. The Statue of Liberty was actually crowdfunded. Joseph Pulitzer, who owned the New World, used the newspaper as his technology to send out to his local distribution network, his readers, to say, hey, we need to raise $100,000 to be able to fund the base for the Statue of Liberty. From the beginning, we really wanted to democratize funding, which is to allow anybody to raise money for absolutely anything. We're just trying to play our part in fixing what we feel is a massive gap in the market in terms of access to capital. Other players, whether it be VCs, banks, government institutions, or others, they have their application process. They are gatekeepers. Based on their criteria, they are deciding if you deserve money. If you don't fit through their gate, you're not going to get money, which is all fine and good. But where Indiegogo is completely different is there are no gatekeepers. Anybody has an opportunity to get anything funded. It's completely open. People want to know how to run a good Indiegogo campaign. And it really all comes down to three things. One, have a good pitch. Two, be proactive. And three, find an audience that cares. One myth is, oh, I just need to post on Indiegogo and millions of dollars just come rushing in. That's not what happens. You need to be working on it. You need to really own it. We are a multiplier. We help amplify what you're able to do and make you do better. One of the biggest failures of a campaign is if it becomes boring and old and no one cares anymore. So you want to keep it fresh. It's very easy to come out of the gate quick because you did a lot of work up front. There's a lot of excitement. If you hit 25% of your funding within the first week, you're 5 times more likely to hit your target. Chances are you're going to have a good finish because you have that deadline. The key is to keep the momentum going along the way in the middle. We know if you have 4 more people on your team, you'll raise 70% more money than if you have 1 person. If you do an update every 5 days or less, you'll raise 4 times more money than if you do an update every 20 days or more. We know that email is your number 1 tool for raising money, Facebook is number 2, and Twitter is number 3. We know if you have a video as part of your campaign, you'll raise 114% more money than if you don't have a video. You want to have 3 to 8 perks. A perk is some sort of product, service, or experience as barter in return for the different funding levels. On average, you'll hit your target on day 36 of a 47-day long campaign. Indiegogo is really built on, amazing things that have happened by other entrepreneurs that have pushed the bar forward, which I think is super exciting because if you empower an entrepreneur to push forward, an entrepreneur can change the world.
Hi, everyone. Okay, cool. I'm seeing that some of you guys are only able to see half the video. We don't have anything on our side going on, but we're looking into it and we're going to see if there's anything going on here. But just as a heads up, what we're going to do is, we're going to include the video in our follow-up email as we have here in the chat. So you will be able to watch this later on if you end up having some issues or you'd like to just go back and get some notes. And it looks like some people are having no issues. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're looking into it on our end. We're going to see what we can do about it. But until then, let's just move on really quick. So as far as what success looks like in crowdfunding, this is something I really want to point out because a lot of people think of crowdfunding as just a means to raise funds. Now, this is true. You are raising money, but there's a lot that you're getting out of it outside of that. And some of these are really good points. So success comes in a lot of different forms. Community building is a really, really big one because crowdfunding allows you to go directly to the source of the crowd. What this means is you can communicate with backers in real time. You have actual engagement between you and them. You're able to kind of see the fruits of your labors with, whatever action you're doing on social media to try and engage your backers there. We have a comment section that we suggest you actively monitor and respond to. People will send their questions there, and you can kind of address them as they come through. Market validation is another big one. If you are developing a product and you decide to crowdfund for it, and you find that maybe people aren't responding to it in the way that you thought they would, what that tells you is that there's something that potentially needs to be changed about the product or your approach, right? So you're really getting a lot of feedback on what's working and what isn't, and what the market looks like. Real-time user feedback, of course, is another big one. Like I said, we have that comment. A lot of our campaigners run polls as their campaigns are going. People will ask, what color do you want for this? Do you see any new features that you'd like added on? The possibilities really are endless. It's up to you how you feel like engaging with your community and your backers. So we're going to break the presentation into a few different sections today. Attainable goal, compelling pitch, unique perks, and proactive promotion. So if you have questions about any of these specific things, save them for whenever we're talking about it. I've seen some questions about how you can figure out good perks. We're going to tell you all about that later on. So as always, we are going to try and have a Q&A section at the very end. So if you have any questions that haven't been answered, feel free to save them till the end and ask us again, and we'll try and address them. Like I mentioned, we also have a support channel that's always happy to help. They know everything that we know, and they're going to be able to fill you in. So let's start really quick with the attainable goal. Now, something I want you guys to note here is that a higher goal does not always equal more money. Keep this image in mind. And I say this because take a look at these two images. So out of these two, which campaign are you more likely to contribute to? If someone feels like responding, feel free. They both have a $20,000 raise currently. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm seeing some stuff about the first. Yeah, exactly. It's the one on the left-hand side. And that's because that green bar is further along than the green bar on the one on the right. That green bar is really helpful because what it does is it shows a lot of social proof that people believe in your idea, and that it's something that they can kind of see coming to fruition. A simple way to think of this is if you are walking by two restaurants, pretend Yelp doesn't exist for you, and you see that one is half empty and or one is empty and one is mostly full. Which one are you going to pick based off of the information you're given? You're going to pick the one that is mostly full because there is more social proof that this is a good place to be. People just trust in places that other people already are. So what we suggest doing is, hitting 30% of your goal in the first few days of your campaign. So kind of aim somewhere around there. Obviously, you don't want to aim too low. You want to make sure that you're actually raising the funds you need to complete the project. But something to keep in mind, maybe it's a good idea not to just go for the top of your goal and maybe go for like the bare minimum of what you need to create the project, and then have added stretch goals later on, or demonstrate that you can actually create the product before aiming a little bigger than that. So next, I'm going to pass it over to Michelle, who's going to talk to you about crafting a compelling pitch.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. Okay, so crafting a pitch is huge. And I definitely recommend spending a fair amount of time focusing on this, when you launch. It's going to be the thing that people see, and within the first maybe 15 seconds of coming to your campaign page, it'll really determine if they're interested in your project or not. And so you really want to spend time making sure that you have a really tightly crafted pitch. So one part of your pitch is going to be your pitch video. We really, really recommend launching with a pitch video because campaigns with pitch videos raise 115% more than those without. crafting a pitch video is something that you can do using your phone. It doesn't have to be something you get professionally done. If you can do that, that's fantastic. But you can. Some of our most successful campaigns have used, an iPhone. And the important thing is to tell your story, get in front of the camera, and be authentic with your audience. So some best practices. What you want to do is, I'm going to kind of go out of order here a little bit, actually. So one really important thing is, people have really short attention spans. So you want to make sure that you have a short pitch video. This actually says 3 minutes. Frankly, I'm finding that 2 minutes is actually better. You want to just get the most important information out as quickly as possible. So while you may have a 2-minute video, you want to actually spend the first 30 seconds talking about the project fully. So you want to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how within the first 30 seconds. So what I usually tell people is to treat the first 30 seconds kind of like a mini pitch video. So you want to get it all out in the first 30 seconds and then use the rest of the video to kind of get into more detail. But we all go on YouTube and look at videos all day long from social media. I don't know about you, but I know that I maybe will watch the first 10, 15 seconds of something. If I'm not interested, I will click away. And you don't want people to click away from your video, which is why you really want to engage them right away and make sure that you put all the most important information up front, capture their attention so that they stick around and watch more. Another important part of this is that you want to tell your story. So you got to remember, crowdfunding is not just about selling a product. It's not just about bringing money in. It's about creating an experience so that backers can become a part of your story. You're trying to raise money for whatever it is, whether it's a product launch or a project or some kind of creative work that you're doing. Whatever it is, crowdfunding is involving other people in this project. And telling your personal story is really important. Now, again, you want to be careful. You don't want to talk about it for too long. But spend a little bit of time standing in front of the camera, getting personal, and talking about why you're doing what you're doing. You want to include a strong call to action. And what that means is, for product campaigns, it can mean something like, contribute now to receive 50% off of this project, this product. So usually the product, when it goes to retail, will cost $100, but if you contribute now, you'll receive it for 50. So something like that. A call to action could be something like, contribute now to be part of the first, like if you're creating a theater project, for example, maybe the first theater project of this type in our town. So some way to make people feel like they're a part of this and they are playing a vital role in the launch of what you're doing. So a strong call to action. And then you also want to express gratitude. Don't forget, you're asking for money. It's not easy for people to give you money. And so you want to make sure that you express gratitude to people. So the Backyard Growers campaign is a campaign that launched out of Massachusetts, and it's a family project. And we have the video here because we think it's a really great example of a pitch video. And so we're going to play it for you. And I'd love for you to think about, as you're watching the video, what's compelling to you? What do you really like about it? And you could just type some of those down in the chat box, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about it.
Hi, I'm Willa.
And I'm B.
And this is our mom, Lara. She's the director of Backyard Growers, this really cool organization that provides garden beds and programs to families, schools, and community groups in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Lara's the best!
In 5 short years, Backyard Growers has evolved from providing a handful of neighbors with backyard gardens to all this. Backyard Growers is a small, scrappy, nonprofit organization. We know how to do a lot with a little. The main base of our operations is our house. And when I say our house, I mean the kitchen table, the hall, the living room, the bedroom, the basement, the yard, the driveway, and sometimes the street. Backyard Growers is officially bursting at its seams and now needs an official Backyard Growers global headquarters. We need to raise $15,000 to pay for the first year of rent, and we need your help. Our own space means centralized operations, which means more efficiency and better management, which means strengthened programs, more people served, and strategic growth.
And that means we get our house back!
Everything you need to know about how we're going to use the space is right down here below.
Okay, excellent. So I saw a lot of people typing, and what we want to ask is, what did you find compelling about that video? And I saw a lot of comments that it was funny, which it totally is, that there's a personal touch, so that you see the family involved, that they did relay their information very, very quickly, and you had a real sense of what they were doing, that it was real, you know, that you really believe that these people are real, and you believe in what their project, very authentic, shows community. Exactly. So you definitely are seeing all the things that make this video particularly great. And so we use this as an example to consider as you're crafting your own video. So out of this video, what we say is, you know, you want to be personable. You know, you want to show your personality, you know, and relate to people. Make it fun, you know, as much as possible. Use the camera you have available. Again, it doesn't need to be some kind of professional camera. Use what you have on hand. Add images. You know, as you could see, this video, like, it really showed. Well, I guess add images and show your project to me are very similar in that they really got, you know, they showed very, very detailed information of what was going on this farm. And yeah, you don't want to be afraid to show everything that you're doing. Again, this is crowdfunding. People are getting involved in your project. They want to know. They want to see inside of what's happening. And again, involve your team. You know, these guys, they had all the kids involved. Everyone was involved. The animals were involved. It was exciting. And so when you do your video, you want to involve everyone that you're working with, because when people are giving you money, they want to be able to trust that this team are people that they believe in. And so the campaign story is very similar to the pitch video in that you want to really make sure you plan your real estate. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that the beginning of your story is very well crafted, that's very clear, very to the point. What I usually say is, you know, you want to treat kind of the first like sort of a few inches of the top of your campaign story to be like a mini version of your entire pitch. Is you want to make it very clear, like, who you are, what you're doing, why it matters, you know, right at the beginning. So that speaks to have a strong, comprehensive introduction. Get to the point. Again, you know, and I can't say this enough, people don't spend a lot of time reading. They don't spend a lot of time at all on pages. You know, they click around. It's very fast. So get to that point right away, so that when they get to your page and they read the first couple lines, they know immediately, wow, this is something that I want to be a part of. This is something I'm excited by. So then they are inspired to read more. You want to try your best to not include huge paragraphs of text. Again, people don't read a lot. We find that charts, images, graphics tend to relay information better than big blocks of text. So you want to try your best to use visual aids as much as you can. And again, you want to be authentic and transparent. Be yourself, you know. People are more likely to contribute when they really can relate to you as another human, and they can you understand what you're doing, why it matters, and they can, you know, emotionally connect with the project. So be authentic, be yourself. So just a few examples of kind of some of the things that we're talking about. One campaign is Girl Scouts campaign. This is kind of a snapshot of their pitch, and they are very clear from the very beginning. As you can see, they have a great picture that shows some of the girls from the Girl Scouts group, And it right from the very beginning, what it says is Girl Scouts of Western Washington recently received a $100,000 donation to help girls participate in Girl Scouts. We were thrilled. However, when the fact that Girl Scouts welcomes all girls, including transgender girls, was in the news, the donor asked us to return their gift unless we guaranteed that the money would not be used to help transgender girls. We said Girl Scouts is for every girl, and we gave the money back. So within, I think that's 4 sentences maybe, you know exactly what this project is, you know. And it's very well done, you know. And then, of course, the page goes on to talk about more, but, you know, they got to the point right at the very beginning. And this is what I'm encouraging everybody to try to do. And so these are just some other examples of things that we recommend. Throughout your campaign page, you want to make sure that you show your project, whether you're doing a product launch, whether you're doing a theater production, if you're writing a book, if you are working for a nonprofit, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you want to show images of the product, of the project, of the process. People want to understand and see into what you're doing. So make sure you show what you're doing. You want to show your team. People show their teams in a variety of ways, but having your team on your page really increases trust with your audience. So you want to make sure you do this. This is a great way to do it. A group shot, awesome. Some people will just include an image of every person, include like a little bio. That's great, but this is going to increase trust with your audience, so you want to make sure you include your team. So these are more images. This is a pie chart on the left showing where all the funds will go for a campaign. This is a great thing to include because people want to know where their money's going. You know, like what's the plan? And when you show that there's a pie chart and you know where their money's going, people trust that you actually know what you're doing because you already know where all these funds need to be allocated. This image on the right is actually it's an image of a motorcycle helmet that's broken down into technical parts. And so what you can see here is that these people really got into detail about what is included, like what components make up this motorcycle helmet. For product campaigns, this is a really great thing to do. You're showing transparency, and you're also showing your expertise that you know that every piece that goes into this project. So now we're going to move on to perk ideas, and Aditi is going to take over for that.
Hello again, everyone. And I wanted to quickly again mention, for anyone that's new to the webinar and has come in the last 10 minutes, we will be sending out a link that includes this video, a video of the webinar. We're also going to be sending out some additional resources. We'll also send out the YouTube links so you can watch them there. Another quick way to find them is just by typing in the name of the campaign with Indiegogo in Google, and it should show up pretty quickly. Okay, cool. So let's chat really quick about perks. So perks are one of the more recognizable aspects, I think, of crowdfunding. They're just rewards that you offer in exchange for contributions basically on the page. These are all going to be listed on the right-hand side of the campaign. And a couple things to note here. We think that really, really good perks motivate backers to give out of a combination of things: passion, pride, and participation. What you want is active, engaged backers who are actually really excited about the product or the object that you're giving out. A great example is over here on the right-hand side. You see Mission Cheese. So if you take a quick look at this, these are sheep on a wall, and the wool of the sheep, it's made up of little names. So Mission Cheese was actually this little cheese cafe that opened up out here in San Francisco, and they were raising funds for the final leg of their physical location. And they serve wine, they serve cheese, chocolate, delicious things. It's just a great place to gather in the neighborhood. And in order to tap into that community feel that they were trying to create in the venue itself, they offered the option for people to give a certain amount of money, and then their name would be featured in a mural. People didn't know what that would look like, but in the end, now if you go to Mission Cheese on Valencia Street in San Francisco, you can go with your friends and you can point at the wall and you can say, "That's my name, I helped make this place happen," which is really, really cool, and it's kind of a fun way to be engaged in a project. So I think this kind of ties in all three of these things together. So let's give some other examples of what some good perks have looked like in the past. So we break perks down into a few different categories. One category is experience perks. So Peak Yogurt was another local company. They were creating a new yogurt brand that is really like high fat, super, super delicious. It's not the stuff that you eat when you're on a diet, but it is incredibly tasty. I happened to actually give to this campaign because I loved it so much. And what they did is they offered an experience perk. So they knew that people that are really into food like this often also like knowing about the nitty gritty of it. So they offered people the chance to come experience the making of yogurt for themselves, to see how they do it in kind of more large scale manufacturing, which is a really cool way to kind of tap into the already existing interests of your community. One of the things they actually did to promote this was they went to various places and they had tastings. So if you have a food-based campaign, tastings is also just a great way to get people excited about your project. Digital goods. This is a type of perk that is really cheap to offer usually, and for that reason, a great idea to try and fit it in if this is something that kind of works with your campaign. Again, you don't want to do backbends in order to create different types of perks. You want it to still make sense. So New Mundo was a campaign that was raising funds in order to create this work study program, or work travel program, sorry. And they were expanding and they were going into South America. And in order to do so and kind of tap into that excitement about moving into a new part of the world, they created a digital music album with music from that part of the world. And so for $15, you could just get a digital download, and it was cheap for them. All they had to do was produce it, which of course, is not the cheap part, but the distributing of it was not hard. Other examples of great digital perks have included, if it's somehow travel related, we've seen also screensavers and backgrounds, or just like beautiful gallery style images of things. We've seen ebooks be a good one. We've seen prints, like I believe it was, we had a book about female scientists, and the name is slipping my mind now, but they offered recently just a print that people could download for a couple extra bucks, which was a cool way to add on to your perk. So in-kind perks is another one, and in-kind just means tapping into your existing market. Cooley Cooley was a campaign that was raising funds to allow for the making of these like energy bars and energy drinks from moringa plants, and that was going to revitalize the area and the Haitian farmers that were actually taking care of this, and also it's like a great way of getting natural energy. They ended up raising over 100K, which is really exciting. They're also repeat campaigners, so they've been back for more than one. So, if one campaign doesn't cut it for you, you can always come back for a second or a third. They partnered with Timberland, which is obviously a huge brand, to make these bags for their backers who reached a certain level or gave a certain amount. That's a really big name, but you can also do something much smaller. One of our coworkers in the past has run a campaign, and he actually has a friend who teaches Taekwondo, and he offered like one-on-one personal Taekwondo lessons, or I've seen campaigns that offer singing lessons or things like that. Just kind of think about what your audience might like and what your friends in your personal network might be able to offer in exchange for it. So again, you want it to be kind of in line with what you're doing. If it's a goofy campaign, something like that works, but think deeply about what your backers might actually want. And so good or product, I think this is the most common idea of what a perk is. If you have a hardware campaign, obviously the product that you are trying to create is the most important thing. And so this is going to be the type of perk that you offer. But for campaigns that are more in line with, a little more amorphous, you might have t-shirts, or you might have, something else that you're offering. So t-shirt is a really common one, but you can kind of think a little harder about it and do something like what Local did. So Local is a local food place here in San Francisco, and I think they've actually spread across the US now. And what they did is they offered this really cool t-shirt where if you wore it in the store, you got a certain percentage off on your order, which is kind of genius because then it gets people to buy more when they're in the store. And you had to give a little bit more, but it basically, that t-shirt functioned as your like coupon whenever you walked into Local, which is cool. It's like kind of free advertisement anyways. So so just kind of think a little harder when you're creating something even as simple as a t-shirt, and think of fun ways that you might be able to kind of dig into that. And secret perks are a relatively new offering, which are really, really exciting. for a couple different reasons. Basically, they are unique links to individual perks, and these are not visible on the campaign page unless you have that link. This is really useful if you are if you've got bloggers that are writing about your campaign, or influencers. If you're tapping into whatever your actual internet community is, you can kind of track who is sending what where. It's also a great way to incentivize bloggers to actually write about it, because then it looks like their audience gets something for a special deal. Early supporters, sending out an email to people that are on your email list with a secret perk link saying like, thanks so much for all of your help so far. Here's a link. It's 20% off or whatever it is that you're doing. Event attendees, this is a really big one. So if you happen to throw a party halfway through the campaign for the campaign itself, or for something in line with it, or at the very beginning or even towards the end, what you can do is you can have everyone that signed up to the event get an email afterwards. You can send that email with a link to a secret perk specifically for the people that attended that campaign, event, and they can get some percentage off, which is a great way to incentivize people to come to these events in the first place. And then flash sales are a really big one. Partway through the campaign, if you just kind of do a flash sale like, hey, just this weekend, Mother's Day weekend, 20% off, and you have it going like that, that's a great way to kind of incentivize people to give. And then finally, about perks, and I think possibly the most important thing is thinking fulfillment. Now, you want to think long term before you ever start the campaign. What this means is you need to do the math on the pricing and include the amount of time that you're spending on it. So, if the product is a certain amount, you want to make sure to price it at a place where you're actually making a little bit of money off of that, instead of just breaking only barely even. You need to also, like I said, take into account for this your time. Packaging, if you're doing this all yourself, is going to take a lot of time, and it's going to take away time from other things that you might have going on. So just take that all into account. You want to know how you're going to fulfill at 10 or 10,000. What this means is you might have people that are, you only find like 5 people that want this one perk, but then you end up having another perk sell out for 10,000 or something. So you need to know, will you still be able to produce this if you only get 5 people interested, and what will that look like? You also want to research international shipping. I mentioned earlier that we are an international platform, and what that means is you might find people interested in your product as far as, Djibouti or something. So you want to make sure that you know what that looks like. And if you feel like offering international shipping because you think it might be something valuable, do the math, and then you can set individual shipping prices depending on the country. So we allow for that in the back end, just something to keep in mind. And remain transparent about timing. On top of the comment section, we also have an update section. Use this wisely, use this constantly, even throughout your campaign or after your campaign. You can continue to update your backers, and an email is sent to everyone that pledged to your campaign or marked it as liked. And so if you're running late on shipping, just let people know beforehand. If you think that you're not going to be able to fulfill till next June, don't pay December. It's just going to make people mad when December rolls around and you don't have a product ready for them. So if you're transparent from the beginning, and if you let them know why it is that you're setting these timelines, people will be on board for this. People understand that crowdfunding is something that's kind of a long-term thing. Just let people know where you actually are, and don't be afraid to be a little bit honest with them. You spent a lot of time building a community. This is, not the time to let it flounder. Cool. So Michelle's going to come back and chat with you about promotion, which is really, really important. So pay very close attention.
Okay, promotion. So there's a few things that go into a successful campaign. We're talking about all of them today. I would argue that doing promotion is maybe the most important thing that you can do to succeed. And so a lot of people, they get an idea for a campaign, they get excited about it. A week later, or even a few days later, they'll sit down and they'll launch it, and then it fails, and they're surprised and they don't understand why. And that's 100% due to the fact that they haven't done any promotion. Running a successful campaign requires a good amount of time spent before you even launch, to build up your audience, get people excited, and get people ready to contribute. So the time before you launch, it's vital to spend this time. So what we say is you should begin planning your campaign at least a month out from launch. Ideally, in my opinion, if you have 3 months, that would be even better. The more time you can put in before you launch, the better off you'll be. So what should you be planning? So you need to think about what community you're going to be promoting to. Who are the people that this project is going to appeal to? If it's a product, what's your target market? Who are the people that this product will appeal to? If it's a creative project, again, who are the people that want or have some kind of an interest in this? You want to think about the kind of content that you're going to be using to spread the word. And so when we talk about content, of course, we talk about content related to the actual campaign itself, but also, some sort of shareable content. What are you going to be offering your audience that's going to be engaging, but also is going to be shareable, that they're going to want to share with their friends? So thinking about content is really important. And then what method of communication will you be using to promote the campaign? So are you going to be mostly relying on email? Are you mostly going to be relying on social media? Is it going to be Facebook versus Twitter? Is it going to be Instagram? Like, what are you going to be using to communicate this campaign to your audience? So you really need to think through these things and get a little bit more into what community means. So there are several layers to community. So you have your campaign team, right? The people who are going to be helping you run the campaign, who are just going to be in it with you from the beginning. And then you have your network. And so your personal network, family, friends, people that you're connected to, like on LinkedIn, for example, those folks. And not just your network, but the networks of everyone on your campaign team. So you want to start thinking about who those people are. You want to start looking through your LinkedIn network and looking, who are the people that I could reach out to who might be willing to support me. Then there's going to be project supporters. So people who are interested in the outcome of your campaign. So these are people who you don't necessarily know yet, but again, these are kind of your target market people, right? Folks out there in the world who would actually be really interested in your project or your product if they knew about it. So those are the folks that you're going to need to go and find. And then relevant groups. So communities that share common interest with your project. So maybe not necessarily the kind of people who are going to contribute to the campaign, but people who share that common interest. So, if you're launching if you're launching like a new kitchen product, like if you're creating a chef's knife, for example, maybe you want to start reaching out to restaurants. Restaurants maybe won't be interested in contributing and claiming a perk on your campaign, but they're going to be interested because they're in the same world of this product. So these are the different kinds of groups. And the important thing to remember about each group is that you're going to be reaching out to them differently. So your campaign team, obviously, these are going to be people you see every single day. So that's going to be a pretty easy one. Your network, personal network of family and friends, those folks you want to be getting in touch with through personal emails and through personal messages on LinkedIn, for example, or Facebook, or wherever you know these people from. And we'll get into more details, but project supporters, again, those are folks that once you do find them, those are people that you will probably be reaching out to via direct email, but also possibly through posting on social media, etc. Relevant groups, maybe a little bit different, but I'm going to get into a little bit more detail now. So different methods of promotion. So email is huge. Email brings in 20% more funding than any other source. And contributions from direct email are 34% higher than other forms. So you really want to leverage email. It's absolutely huge. So best practices around email. Actually, before that, I wanted to say one other thing about email. We find that email converts at a very high rate. So if you send out a mass email, email can convert, anywhere between 1% to 5%. Whereas, other forms of outreach, much, much lower. And so having a solid email list before you launch your campaign pretty much guarantees you hitting a significant amount of your funding goal within the first couple of days. And we recommend trying to hit at least 30% of your goal within the first 48 hours. So what we recommend is building up an email list that is large enough where you pretty much can guarantee within the first 48 hours you will hit that 30% mark. If you hit that 30% mark, you are much more likely to hit and exceed your goal than if you don't. This is a hugely important thing to keep in mind, to remember as you move forward. This is why the pre-campaign promotion is so important. So you want to spend time building that email list. Okay, so best practices for actually writing emails. This is very similar to what I've talked about before in terms of your pitch, in terms of your video. You really want to make the space count. So, the subject line, the message itself, you want to get to the point, you want to be really clear, and you want to make sure that you're using messaging that resonates with your audience. You want to keep the message short and to the point. Again, strong call to action. Let people know what they're going to be getting, whether it's a discount or how they're going to be making an impact. Whatever that call to action is, make sure it's clear and strong. Include an image of the product. Include an image of whatever it is you're working on. It's a film. Include some kind of really great teaser photos, something along those lines, or maybe photos from the set, a storyboard, something like that, and keep it personal. This is huge too. In terms of the different spheres of your audience, your personal network, you want to be writing personal emails to people. You want to be saying, hey, so and so. You want to be getting personal with people that you know. In terms of maybe the next sphere out, like your project supporters, the people that you're finding, the audience, these are your target market. You want to make sure you're personalizing the email. You don't necessarily have to handwrite every email that goes out to those people, but you want to make sure you mention their name. It's important. And so I'm going to next show you an example of an email that worked very, very well and tell you why. So the Kinza campaign was a successful tech campaign, and this was what their email looked like that they sent out to their big email list. And it just contained their logo on the top, a little tagline, keep your family healthy at the touch of a button. That alone it just says a lot about what this product is. And as a consumer, reading that makes me feel like, oh, okay, the product benefit for me is that my family's going to be healthy really, really easily. So I want to know more, So they do a great job of nailing a really great headline there. And then they just go into a little bit more detail. It says, the Kinza Smart Your Thermometer brings you instant peace of mind. Again, a very compelling sentence. And then it tells you about four of the product features that are really appealing. And then it goes into what the call to action is, which is take advantage of this 1-day 50% off discount exclusively on Indiegogo. And it tells you the price, and it says the regular price is $59.99. You'll be getting it at $29.99, and the button is get it now. It's really straightforward. Doesn't say anything more than it needs to. The image is clear. You know exactly what this product consists of. It's a great email. And so I would encourage anyone to consider crafting emails in a similar fashion. You can use this template for any kind of campaign that you're running. It doesn't need to be just a product campaign. It could be a nonprofit. It could be anything. So there's other ways, of course, to contact your audience. 22% of a campaign's raised funds come from social media, and over 50% of Indiegogo's website traffic come from social media sites. Very important. So what are social media best practices? This is where a lot of people get kind of confused. A lot of people will launch a campaign and then just start peppering Facebook with links to their campaign and wonder why nobody is clicking on it or why people are defriending them or unfriending them. And it's because, if you're just going to be posting your campaign link over and over again, it's become spam. People get irritated and people just stop paying attention. And frankly, if you haven't already built up a relationship with people and they're just seeing a copy of your link, they're not going to be interested. So it's really important to be careful about what kind of stuff you're posting. You don't just want to post your link. You want to post content that is actually interesting to your audience so that, when they're going through their feed, right, they see something written by you that is compelling to them, that's interesting to them, whether it's an article or just a post, an image, whatever it is, that the image itself or the content itself is compelling, but it also contains the link to your campaign so that they're actually getting something out of it. And then they feel motivated to click on your campaign link because you've given them something. You've given them content that's interesting to them. And another piece of that that's important is if you craft really great content, people are going to share your content, which means if they share your content, they're going to be sharing your campaign link, which means more people are going to learn about your campaign. So taking that time before you launch a campaign to come up with some really awesome content that you can share throughout your campaign is really valuable. So as I've said, you want to craft shareable content, use compelling images and short videos, make your content relevant to your audience and current events, and make sure you're responsive. If people are commenting on your posts, you want to respond to them. If people send you messages through Facebook, you want to respond to them. It's very, very important. This is an example. This is an example of really great shareable content from Cuddle & Kind. It included a really cute image of a young girl with these dolls. The campaign was selling these dolls, and the message was, excuse me, was very sweet. Had a quote that says, "If you could be anything, be kind," and it's shareable. It's the kind of thing that you want to share with friends and such, and it includes the campaign link. So this is just a perfect example of shareable content. So how do you gain contributions from people that you don't know? Well, there's a few different things you can do. There's press and news outlets. So you can draft a press release that you can send out to relevant publications. You want to start local and small. You know, if you're a small business and you're trying to raise funds, the best thing to do is to contact your local paper. You don't want to contact a paper across the country. You want to contact your local paper because they're going to be the ones who are interested. You can contact bloggers. There's tons of bloggers out there. Get in touch with bloggers and ask them to, either if you're launching a product campaign, ask them to try out your product and write a review. Ask them to write about the nonprofit that you're working on some kind of campaign for. Influencers. You want to contact people in your network who have a big following and ask them to promote the campaign on your behalf. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get contributions from people you don't know. In terms of press releases, just keep in mind that you can't rely on press to make you successful. Press generally isn't going to cover your campaign until they see that you've already raised money. So generally you want to wait until you've already raised at least 30% of your campaign's funding before you reach out to press. So Root Division is a really great example of utilizing the press. Root Division was an art collective here in San Francisco who got priced out of their space. And, excuse me, they raised funds, and one of the ways that they got word spread was through contacting San Francisco Chronicle. Again, this collective was here in San Francisco. They contacted the SF Chronicle because it was a local publication. And it really worked for them. So Indiegogo has a lot of tools that you can use on your dashboard that will help you manage your campaign. And I'm just going to go through them pretty quick, but you can email our support team if you have more questions about this. So you're going to have access to a lot of data. You'll be able to track referrals, so you could run referral contests through Indiegogo. You can view your campaign's traffic. You can see how many people are coming to your page, how many people are contributing, what people are contributing. And you'll have a whole order management system where you can manage the orders people are putting in and mark certain perks as fulfilled, as unfulfilled. It's very powerful. The dashboard is very powerful. And finally, I just want to comment on one thing people forget about, and that's posting updates. So if you post regular updates, you can raise 286% more than campaigns that don't. We generally recommend posting 2 updates a week. You want to be expressing gratitude to your audience. You want to be showing people what you're working on. Again, you can also be sharing, content that is relevant to the general concept of what you're working on. You want to just be staying in touch and staying engaged. It's very important. And updates are going to be sent to all of your backers and followers. Yeah, you can also use updates to announce new perks and campaign milestones. It's a great way to encourage participation, ask people for feedback, ask people to post comments on your page. It's a great way to get people to come back to your campaign page, to share your campaign page, etc. So that just about wraps up our webinar. If you have further questions, you can contact our happiness team, which is the last link here at the bottom. They'll be able to answer any further questions, any follow-up questions that you have. Aditi's going to pop in real quick.
Hey guys, so yeah, as we mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a recording of this webinar, including some links that you're going to find helpful. You can also reach out to the support team, like Michelle said. There were a few of you that we specifically said that they can provide like some additional information for your questions. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have enough time for like a proper Q&A session. But again, the indiegogo.com/contact, they'll be able to help out with everything you might need. One thing I want to mention really quick before people start pouring out. So our next webinar is going to be August 11th, 2017, so roughly a month from now. And what we're doing is we are going to be breaking down individual pitches, and we're going to tell you guys how we would reformat these and what we would do a little differently in order to have your most successful pitch. So it's just kind of a workshop basically. And what you guys will need to do in order to be qualified for this is create a draft sometime very soon. We're going to be sending out an email that'll have a form that you can sign up with a link on, and just have a draft. Please have some information on that draft. We can't really work with, blank or mostly blank drafts. Just as much information as you can have on there, please put on there. You also want to make sure you're going to be launching after August 11th. It's most helpful to you if you have some buffer between when we break down the pitch and tell you like the advice that we have for it, and you can change up any big things and your launch date. The other thing is this will be like sort of publicly shared with everyone that's in the webinar. So if you do need to be comfortable with that. We will be very nice. We're not mean people, as you may have noticed. We're just here to help, and we want to try and make sure that you guys can transform what you already have into being the best possible thing. Sorry, at noon in San Francisco, there's an alarm that goes off to let us know if there's a hurricane or something. So if you hear something, it's that. Yeah, so just make sure that if you're interested, you can send in a link, and that form will be available on our follow-up email. And that should be it. Again, this is the resource page, and you can go ahead and go to any of these things for some additional help. I hope you guys found this really useful. We love doing this. We love meeting you guys. You guys are all wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, and take care. Have a good rest of the day.